So I do have these hidden slides which shows how to configure DHCP server on Windows 2016 server. So it's a step-by-step screenshot where you say create a new scope for IP address range with unique IP address. In our case, it was loopback 2 and subnet was 10.30.30.0/24. So I went ahead and created a new scope, and then I went ahead and marked all the IP address as unavailable in that pool because for server to go and look for the a bigger scope or a global scope, it need to have an exception to happen. So once that exception happen, we also need to create a super scope. In the super scope, we create for all the subnets which we want to assign IP addresses from, and then we define a policy in that scope. So you can go through this. It's a step-by-step process with a screenshot. You can use it for yourself. I'm going to attach copy of this, but if I have to quickly go through this presentation, I can do that also. Here, what we do in step one is you create a new scope for the unique loopback IP address. Okay, once you create a new scope by going to IPv4 and say new scope, after you create a new scope, you say um, all the IP address range in this particular pool are unavailable. And when we mark that, and when DHCP server checks this pool, it says, okay, there is no IP address available, and so there's the exception happens, right? So and then it's when the exception happens, server goes and check for a global scope. So for that, you create a super scope, and in the super scope we define all the subnets what we want to assign IP addresses from. At the same time, we also create a policy for the super scope, uh, which will be like used for selection of the particular proper VLAN, right? So in this case, you can see I'm creating new scope and address pool and things like that. But after this, I'm going to show you create a scope policy. You create a scope policy, give a name to the policy. In that, you encode information like agent ID, segment ID, and things like that. You can just do as it is, and remember that agent ID is the combination of fixed value plus segment ID. In this case, it was 0108000060 and 007573, right? So I embedded this information in the policy, and then I created a required scope, and then you say create a new scope policy, right? So with that said, there's another information I have enclosed in this presentation, which is how to configure DHCP or VXLAN if client on tenant VRF and server on layer 3 default VRF. This is the configuration example for that. And then I have another client on tenant VRF and server on different tenant VRF. So I also have a configuration example for that, just in case you want to refer. With that said, my presentation at Cisco Live is over. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed and liked the session.